Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final episode of season two of the Inspire series. I have with me today my expert panel of children's authors, Karen, Holly, Sarah, Josh, and Michelle. Welcome, everyone. Our final episode, controversial one, the banned book. What do we say? Where do we start? Banned books. Michelle, I'm going to begin with you because you recently have had a book banned. Tell
That
all.
is right. So I didn't actually know that it was banned until a little while after it happened, mainly because I write picture books and I couldn't think why one of my picture books would ever be banned. So it's not anything that was ever on my radar. But during COVID, one of my books, Noah Chases the Wind, which was published in the US, um, was doing so well. It was in lots of classrooms across America. It was actually chosen to be read by the Met in New York as one of their COVID kids story times. And they linked it to a lot of the beautiful artwork that was at the Met. And I just thought, oh, that's great. And when I was going over to America, that was the book that people were recognizing me for. And then it wasn't until I was speaking to my aunties in America and they were talking about banned books that they said, oh, we saw one of your books had been banned. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So it it happened in New York. It is a school board that decided after COVID that they were going to go through the library. So basically, they went through the primary school library and they banned any book that was either written by or had reference to any LGBTQ plus authors. They also banned anything that had neurodiverse characters or anything that they thought was I guess I don't want to necessarily say it was about character skin color, but coincidentally, a lot of the books that were banned did have um, characters who had darker skin. So with Noah Chases the Wind, one of the reasons why I was so surprised it was banned was because it has a little boy with autism in it, but autism is not actually ever mentioned in the book. It just is like, it just so happens that this character is autistic. And you can see from the illustration, so it's just like he could smell the green tang of the ants in the grass. He could feel when a big storm was coming before the leaves on the trees even started to tremble. So this is actually based on a real boy with autism named Noah. And another reason why it was banned was due to the illustrations, because when Noah goes looking for the wind, there is rainbow wind color. Now, this has absolutely no undercurrent LGBTQ anything except that it's pretty colors. So that was another reason why
You
it was
can't
banned.
ban
Now,
rainbows. Shell,
you can
can.
now. You
All
can
my books
now.
would be banned because I got rainbows
That's
in every
right.
one of them.
Yeah. So the interesting thing, because I looked into it a little bit deeper, the interesting thing that this was not coming from parents, it was not coming from teachers, it was coming from a school board. So it was actually a school board who went in and did the library. Now, none of these books had actually had any complaints against them. There were lots of other books in, because you can actually, it's with Freedom of Information Act, you can actually go and Google the book, why it was banned, who initiated the ban, and whether the ban has been lifted. So, as far as I know, the parents actually rallied together to get most of the books put back into the library because they were, totally unaware that this had actually happened until after it happened, and they were not supportive of a school board coming in and basically, you know, making all of their library sanitized or to be a certain thing. And it was about the same time that publishers started getting this stupid idea in their head that they needed to rewrite books for a modern audience. Now, whoever came up with that idea was a marketing person. It had absolutely nothing to do with the kids' minds or well-being. It was they wanted to make more money by releasing a new set of books that they knew were going to sell very well, but they needed a new thing. So they decided they were going to, make it for the modern audience and change some words, which is horrifying that they can do that in the first place, change somebody's words that have been written when that person is long dead and gone and can't have any recourse to say, I don't want you to change something that I've written. And from what I've seen, we don't have banned books as such in America. There are factions in Australia who will kick up a fuss if there are books that they don't deem appropriate for children when they are released, but that none of those have ever been banned just because somebody has said that they're inappropriate. So we're not like America in that sense, but I do think that it's a slippery slope, and I think we tend to follow the US a couple of years behind in trends, and I would hate to think that this is a trend that we are going to follow in. The last time I was in the US, I was at a conference with a room full of librarians, and they just were just so aghast at what was happening, and none of it is coming from librarians. Hardly any of it is coming from parents, and if it is coming from parents, it's maybe coming from one and two very outspoken parents. But the minute that a parent makes a complaint about a book, it must be actioned. There is no adjudication process. A librarian cannot say, are you sure? If it's made to the school board, then that book must be removed. And then there's this whole big process that you have to go through to get it back. So it's really disempowering librarians and teachers to even what they can use in a classroom, which must just, I can't imagine how frustrating that must be for them to be going through libraries and taking out books that there's nothing inherently wrong for a child to read. I don't understand it. I'm not going to sit here and say that I understand anything about this subject. It's really something that I tried to get my head around, tried to figure out why mine was banned. And first of all, I was just horrified. I was like, what have I done? Like, oh, I would hate to think that anyone ever thought that I would write a book that wasn't anything but love and joy and a beautiful representation of a child. And to think that somebody thought that my book was not healthy for a child to read, I felt sick. I just felt sick, and it really threw me. And it probably took me a good couple of weeks to get over that. It really hit me on a deep creative level that my work could be so misinterpreted, to think that I was a sort of person who would do that like that. It ripped my heart out. So it has taken me a little bit to come back from, but I think, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But I also do think that, I get a lot of push when somebody says you can't, then all of a sudden I'll go, well, stop me. So if they think that book was bad, wait to see what I'm publishing next, folks. So it has given me a little bit of a push that all those underrepresented kids, all those kids who no longer see themselves in books, I am here from you. I am telling you right now that the books that I produce are going to be for you. And ban me if you will. I really don't care. But you can't ban us all. You can't ban every single person who's writing books for those kids whose books have been taken off the shelves. So come at me, America. I am ready for you.
Also,
Yeah.
Them button words.
publishers take the responsibility of publishing for children. They don't take that lightly. You already know when you're submitting, like, that you're right. And as an author, you have a responsibility. You're writing for children. You write what is appropriate for children, and publishers filter, and they know what they're looking for.
But Sarah can back me up on this as well. If you are submitting to publishers at the moment, they want books about
Exactly.
people of color. They want books with neurodiverse characters. They
Yep.
want books, they want own voices. And Sarah was talking about that in this series
Yes.
anyway. So that doesn't make sense. If publishers are saying we want to publish these type of books, but then they're not actually reaching the kids because they're being
That's
gatekeeped here.
only usually in the southern states of America, though.
But this was in New York.
Crazy.
You mentioned, and I'm going, that's really strange. Is it one particular, I'll say, enclave in New York? Because like New York's one of the most diverse places in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess you have a right to question, but who's given the power to make the ban? That
It's the parents. It's the parents on their parents' advisory committees, is what Michelle was saying. One parent.
Mine was the school board, but one parent making a complaint can get a book banned. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think that would happen here. One parent.
No, I don't think so either. We're way too smart for that. Mind you, you look at the chaos.
Have you met an Australian teacher librarian? Holy cow. I would not be crossing them. They are the most amazing breed of person I've ever met in my whole entire life. We need to send some of those over to America, and then they would sort stuff out in a hurry.
Yeah. You keep our librarians on side.
The ones in the US are getting death threats, and that is really terrible. They're actually getting death threats, and I suppose it triggers a little bit of the Yumi Stone's book that, or the uproar about, let's talk about sex, that was recently, because all these Christians went to Big W and they harassed all the staff about it, even though it wasn't bad, even though the Big W said, oh, we'll take it off the shelves and stuff. But it's that pressure from a small minority that is putting pressure on the wider community, which I think is totally unfair, because there's nothing wrong with these books, and why should this small minority have such a big say? And that's what really gets me.
Yeah.
And I think what it completely highlights, and this is what we've been speaking about actually through both seasons, is that the children's book industry is run by adults. It's not for children. And we've got the adults who write the books, and we're writing content that we think's okay and that we think needs to be out there. And then it's going to the publishing houses, and it's the editors, and it's the adults within the publishing world who then decide how to edit it and how to filter it, and then it goes out to it's in the consumer's house, so the adult, because not all children are going into those bookstores and picking up the books themselves. It's the adults who are then choosing which books to buy from the shops, and then it's the adults who are then reviewing it, because again, we don't have a 5-year-old sitting online doing a book review. So it's adult. How sad is that they are deciding? Like you said, Karen, yes, of course, we all have a responsibility for children. Of course we do. I've got 4 children of my own. But what I don't want is for people to take their bigoted views somewhere, wherever they're sitting, and decide that their views is above everybody else's, and completely changing how our children can learn to see themselves and accept themselves and see the world. And it just makes me so mad that you know, there are so many children that are, I mean, I think the topics that we've all spoken about, we're all affected by all of them. Like, we can all say we are, you know, part of here and part of there, we all can. And it just makes me so mad that this is happening. And again, it is adult constructed. And that's so sad in the children's book industry. Why do they have this? Luckily in the UK, again, with the same as you guys, there's probably tiny fractions of certain people that maybe be able to sort of be causing a rumble somewhere. But we don't have these banned book lists yet. However, obviously Roald Dahl has, you know, that's had that whole hill to go through, which again was just, you know, for us, that just didn't feel right. So it's really scary. And you are right, Michelle, we are normally a couple of years behind the US when it comes to this industry. So I'm a bit worried about what's going to happen. I'm also thinking my book, The Heavy Bag, releases in the US in the spring with Cardinal Rule Press. And I'm thinking there's the rainbow in the illustrations, which I presume they're keeping the US edition. And it talks about death and, you know, spirits and people. So now
Watch
I'm
this
thinking,
space.
watch this space. Yeah.
Watch this
Yeah.
space. Yeah. Holly, do you think Canada will follow the US trends, or are you very separate?
Well, we do tend to follow a lot of things. I'm not sure how closely. There are some changes with that whole area right now about what's being shared, and I'm not certain. I think we always will to a certain point, but I don't think it's going to be to this extent that the US has the bans.
Yeah. I really hope not, you know. And what I have loved the most in about this conversation so far, and it's relevant, but it's not relevant, is the passion when Michelle's speaking, and when you were just speaking, Sarah, how you just can't understand why certain things happen. And, you know, the whys, like, we don't get told it all. And it is a children's industry, but it's run by adults. You know, like you said, the adults write, the adults publish, the adults, you know.
Yeah, they buy. They are the gatekeepers.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
because not every child is blessed with adults, guardians, parents who want them to be who they are and want them to be okay with who they are and want them to be reflected and represented and see themselves in mirrors and glass and all this type of stuff. Not every child has that. So when they're coming from a place where they don't have that adult in their life who, you know, I always say to my girls, just be happy, whoever you are, whatever you are, I'm just here. Not every child has that, and it's those children who are going to suffer because they're having it in their home lives, and then they're going into school, which is supposed to be a safe place, and, you know, the world is supposed to open up to them, and then it's happening again. There's another adult who's put themselves above that child, who again is, you know, in charge of them, and it just makes me so cross. And it actually is quite emotional because I just feel it's those children that are going to really be affected, because I can say to my children, okay, yeah, look, I've seen this book is banned, let's read it, let's see it, let's, you know, and we can talk about it, but not every child's going to have that. So I just think it's a tragedy, actually.
Yeah, it is, and the way that everyone is getting so emotional just talking about it, you can see just how tragic it is. Josh, do you have books in the US? Or are yours? No.
No.
I just wonder how your books would fare.
I think they'd be okay, but maybe too many rainbows, I think. but it is, for me, it is, I share the passion of everyone, because I just don't know, understand why a book would be banned unless it's advocating neo-Nazis or something like that. Why would you? I don't get that understanding. And as what Sarah was saying, these kids who may be marginalized, who may be ostracized, who may be on the outer, and they need books to help reinforce that they're okay the way they are, that they're amazing people, no matter which walk of life they come from. And if an adult who's going to be the moral gatekeeper goes, no, you cannot have that because that'll reinforce what you are, and we can't have that. I think that's just it's just irksome.
Yeah, absolutely. Karen, you're shaking your head.
No, I'm just thinking, I hope we don't follow.
Cross our fingers we don't, Karen.
I think it's just up to us as well as content creators that we just don't stop. Like, we keep creating content. My next book that's coming out is called Too Much Monkey, and the monkey is rainbow colored on every single page, and they are non-binary and they have ADD. So that probably won't be getting published in the US, and I don't mind, but it will be available in the US. And that was a direct inspiration from feeling censored in what I could write and what I could produce. And I never want to feel like that again. So I think it's our responsibility as children's content creators to be creating books for those marginalized kids and having them at least accessible somewhere in the world, and then just hoping that they have enough, like Sarah was saying, responsible people in their life that they can have access to the books that actually make them feel better or good about who they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the absolute point. I think they've picked on the wrong people because we're all creatives. We don't go quietly, and we always think outside the box. So they're going to find more books like Michelle's talking about. We are, because don't try and hold creatives back. We are a special person, and we are going to find ways to keep on doing, given this content, writing, these wonderful books for children, to include everybody. So they've probably picked on the wrong group.
Absolutely. As creatives, we feel deeply. We are emotional people, and that's what we write, and we like to convey a message.
And change does happen because the type of picture books that are produced is changing all the time. If you look at it over history, so they don't stop at an event because change evolves, and with that, everything evolves.
Yeah. And I think, as creatives, as Michelle said, you tell us we can't. That's just holding that red flag, and you just go watch us. And that's when we get together as a community, and we learn and we grow and we fight for what we believe in, and that is so important. And I think I'm actually going to stop it there. The banned book, a really interesting topic, and one we can always be talking about is watch this space to see what happens with the heavy bag. Watch this space with your books, Josh, if they ever get to the US, and see what happens. So anyway, thank you so much, everyone. This week 8 concludes our second season. So thank you once again for sharing so much of your expertise, your thoughts, your minds, your passion, everything children's books. So we will hopefully see you again back for season 3. So thanks, everyone. Bye.